It's Kaufman is Alive. I look at comic books new and old. Welcome to the Comic Book Show, where I'm looking at all the new comics I picked up at the comic book shop this week. Got some cool variant covers, picked up some books in the dollar bin as well, and picked up some new comics. I got a ton of stuff to get into this week, so let's not waste any time and get right into it. Now, the first thing I picked up actually came out last week, but I had to go online to order it because they sold out at my comic book shop instantly. We got Superman, Spider-Man #1 by DC and Marvel Comics. So this is obviously a big book. I have not opened it up yet, obviously. I have not flipped through any of these books yet, so I'm opening it up for the first time here. I was able to order this Scott Koblish variant cover. It's actually a wraparound cover here. One of the few variants that was a wraparound. So this is really cool. I just thought with all the great Spider-Man and Superman characters on here, along with this really great rendering of Superman and Spider-Man here by Scott Koblish. He always puts out really cool covers, I think, with tons of characters on them. I think that's like what he's best at. That's his bag when he's just drawing these giant like collages of characters here. So really cool stuff. There's Superboy and Green Goblin there, Ultraman down here, 2099 Spider-Man, Cyborg Superman fighting Miles Morales, Spider-Pig, Crypto, Steel versus Electro there. Really cool stuff. Just a great looking cover. And like I said, I have not flipped through this at all yet. So let's see what's going on here. We got Mark Waid writing the main story with Superman and Spider-Man teaming up. It's called Truth, Justice, and Great Responsibility. So a good mashup of the two slogans there, I think. Jorge Jimenez is the artist. And we got Tomio Mori doing the colors and Tom Napolitano doing the letters here. And Marie Javins is the editor. This is the DC version of this, and Marvel will be coming out with their version called Spider-Man Superman, cleverly enough. We got Brainiac here. Dr. Octopus meeting Brainiac for the first time. I think both Peter Parker and Clark Kent being involved in the newsrooms, but just from like different ends. That's a pretty great setup for them to meet. So there we go, a great double splash of both the quintessential heroes from DC and Marvel. Nice looking shot of the city here. Nice 9-panel spread. I was surprised how quickly this sold out at my comic shop. Like I talked about last week, I did not put this on my poll because I just figured I would be able to pick one up. Like, for instance, the Batman Deadpool series. There was copies on the shelf for a little while after that came out. I think there's even still some copies of the Deadpool Batman, the second issue that came out from that as well. Or maybe it was the other way around. I can't remember. I think actually Marvel went first, but nonetheless, I thought there'd be some copies. There weren't, so like I said, had to go online to pick this up. This looks pretty exciting. I like Dr. Octopus and Brainiac kind of being the two villains here. There's some classic looking Spider-Man trying to hold up a giant building or tons of rubble. Of course, Superman can do it with ease. Really like the artwork in here. It's got sort of an anime tinge style to it from Jorge Jimenez here, which I feel like a lot of artists these days make their faces kind of look like manga faces, that Japanese art style. This is a great splash here, Jorge Jimenez. An homage here. So we got a whole bunch of other team-ups. Lois Lane and Mary Jane. That's written by Tom King, and we got Jim Lee penciling here, so that's pretty stand out. That's a great creative team. I wonder, has Tom King, has he written for Jim Lee before? I wonder. Probably has, I would imagine. We got a Superboy Prime and Amazing Spider-Man team up. Superboy and Spider-Man 2099. Jimmy Olsen and Carnage. Okay, that's kind of random. We got Jonathan Kent and Ben Parker, and a Daily Planet, Daily Bugle team up. That's good. I like that. Very clever there. And we got Power Girl and the Punisher on a blind date, it says. That's written by Gail Simone. I'm looking forward to reading that one. I think Gail does a great job writing like romances, that kind of stuff. So here's the Tom King Jim Lee joint. World's Finest. I guess it's technically Lois Lane, Mary Jane. Looks like we got plenty of Spider-Man and Superman in here as well, though. Cool to see Jim Lee drawing Spider-Man. I don't know if we've seen too much of that before. Oh, that's a great drawing of Gambit there. Love seeing the X-Men showing up. Jim Lee drawing the X-Men is one of those white whales in comics. We've seen it before, but hard to say if we'll ever see that again. So again, just getting one splash page with Gambit there, drawn by Jim Lee. Whew, that's good. So far, I love the artwork in these stories. Here we've got the Amazing Spider-Man and Superboy Prime, so it's the black costume Spider-Man. So we're getting a lot of different versions of Spider-Man, which makes sense, along with kind of different versions of Superman. There's so many variants of both of them. I'm glad that they didn't just leave it to the main versions. We got other people showing up here. Batman Beyond, Spider-Man 2099, I think they could make a whole comic of those two teaming up and it would sell gangbusters. Probably should have promoted that a little more, like I said, or just make a whole series with those two. That would be incredible. So Jimmy Olsen looks like he's investigating Carnage there. These look like some Raphael Sandoval pages. These look like pages straight from Absolute Superman here. Jeff Lemire's writing. But I recognize Raphael Sandoval's art from the Absolute Superman as well. I'm glad he at least got to draw one big page with Superman there and Spider-Man. This is the Daily Bugle, Daily Planet team up, I guess, if you want to call it that. Working together on a story, perhaps. And the blind date between Power Girl and the Punisher. So some creative team-ups here. I think a little bit more interesting than the Batman Deadpool stuff. Those were a little more obvious team-ups. These are a little bit more imaginative. So take one more look at this great cover here. All right, I spent almost 10 minutes here on just Superman, Spider-Man. I got tons of other stuff to look at here. So Comics the Magazine #2. I just did a review of the first issue. This is so great. Like a throwback to Wizard Magazine or the Comics Reader or Comics Journal, where we've got stories promoting certain books, interviews with creators. Here this month we got an interview with the creators of Battle Beast, which is a book I'm all in on. I've collected every issue so far. So they're interviewing Ryan Ottley and Robert Kirkman, it looks like here. So can't wait to read this. Terminal, this is Robert Kirkman, Joe Casey. It says Andy Kubert, sorry, David Finch, and Art Adams. It says put them all together. in one title as they're doing in Skybound's upcoming terminal, and you have an ongoing series that is a massive event each and every month. Yeah, so honestly, I haven't heard too much about this other than I've heard Rob Liefeld talk about this a bit on his podcast, comparing this to like, this is going to be Image's X-Men. So I'm definitely going to be picking that up. We've got a interview with Ben Steinbeck here. Some more interviews and things to look out for. They've got top 10 lists in the back as well. Obviously talking about upcoming books, little features on how to draw and stuff. They had that in the last issue as well. So yeah, definitely pick up the comics, the magazine as it's called. We've got, here's the top 10 artists and writers. Always fun to look at. And we got a list of the top 100 comics according to CGC. Like I was talking about, I'm not sure how they rate all these exactly. I think it's just by what's hot at the moment. So it's not necessarily, it's kind of a mix-up of new and old comic books. Just the top 100 what's hot right now. And all these, the values are all based on if you actually had them slabbed. So not the actual values if you just find them in a bin, in a bag. So Comics the Magazine, this is only $2.99. I definitely recommend picking this up if you get a chance. It's got tons of great stuff in it. All right, then I picked up some stuff that came out, not this week, but recently, but I got some variant covers of some stuff I already bought that I was looking for. Invincible returns. I picked this up. This came out last week. I picked this up specifically. I mean, it's Invincible, which is cool, obviously. It's probably the best superhero comic book in the universe. But I picked this up because it's the Eric Larson variant cover, and I'm just an Eric Larson, I guess, completionist, you might say, although he's so prolific, it might be impossible to get everything he's ever done. But anytime he puts out something new, I want to pick it up. So he does a cover for Invincible Returns, this is a facsimile edition of a book that came out years ago, I think around 2011, 2012 or so. But I wanted to get it, like I said, for the Eric Larson cover. He's just my favorite comic artist and creator. So, but this is kind of cool. I guess sort of tying into, in a way, the show, because we've got in the show, the new episodes that are just coming out, we got Invincible going into his alternate costume here. And in this issue, he reverts back to his original costume. This great splash page here by Ryan Otley. So like I said, this is a facsimile, but and for me, I never picked up Invincible. I wasn't aware of it when it was coming out. I wasn't buying a lot of comic books in the 2000s. I was buying comics in the 90s and then got back into it in the 2010s. So when Invincible was coming out, I was completely ignorant of it. So having a book like Battle Beast, for instance, which is an Invincible Universe tie-in book coming out monthly, is a lot of fun for someone like me who didn't get to experience Invincible when it was first coming out. And so I'm all over if they're printing out facsimile editions. Like they also came out with the reprint of the first issue, which I already have a copy of one of those anyway, but I picked up the Ryan Otley foil variant cover that came out last week. But Invincible Returns, this was $4.99. Then another Eric Larson comic I picked up. I have not opened this one up yet, as you can see. Ordered this offline because I couldn't find it in my shops, but it's Iron Man with Eric Larson doing the variant cover, and it's got like this faux old like print on it. Makes it look worn, but it's actually not. Obviously, this is a brand new comic book. But Larson, he mentioned in his Facebook group, he said Marvel actually let him use the legacy numbering on this cover, which was a request of his, because he wants to do this throwback style, which I love when Larson does it. He does it probably more than anybody else, I feel like, using like the fake worn paper. But It works great, especially for this Invincible Iron Man issue. And they got the old school logo on it as well. Speech bubbles and thought bubbles, which you never see anymore on comic covers. It's great to see. And I also picked up this Final Boss number 5 Invincible month variant, speaking of Invincible as well. And they got the speech bubble on the front as well. This is by Tyler Kirkham. He says, "I'm the new hero around here." So I picked up Final Boss number 5 last week. I've already done a review of that, put that out on my channel. Go check that video out. But this was the cover I really wanted. Obviously, it's got this really cool Tommy Brazen versus Invincible fight on the cover. So that's the only reason I picked this up, was looking for this variant, and I wasn't able to get it on my pull list. And the Eric Larson variant here is pretty sweet. Have not been reading Iron Man at all since they rebooted it here. I think this is like, I'm not sure, issue 6 maybe? Let's see what, Iron Man number, oh, that's number 2. Okay, so this is Iron Man issue 2. This came out a couple months back, but Joshua Williamson is a writer here. He's one of my favorite writers in comics right now. And Carmen Canero is the artist. I think she was the artist on Exceptional X-Men as well. So some cool stuff in here. Looks like we got maybe some members of the Thunderbolts showing up. Might have to go back and try and find the first issue of this somewhere, just so I maybe know a bit more about what's going on. Like these kind of cyberpunk colors in here. But, you know, not a huge Iron Man comic book fan these days. But I just love the Eric Larson cover, and I like popping into Iron Man every once in a while. But I really think Legacy Numbers comics should go back to that more often, because it's just easier. Like if you got a friend who says, like, go check out this specific issue of something because something cool happens, it's just easier to say, go check out Iron Man number 682. Instead of saying, go check out Iron Man, volume 18, number 3 of 5 from 2022 or something. It's just, go check out issue 682. You know, it's just easier to tell somebody. I think it's easier for people to get into comic books when you got legacy numbers like this, instead of all these miniseries, just monotonous miniseries. And then you see, if you like number 682, then you go, I got to read 683, and I got to go back and I got to read 681 and 680. And it's just easier, I think, for people to follow comics when they're numbered continuously like that, sequentially, and we don't have just continuously reverting back to issue number 1 all the time. Anyway, end my rant there. We got Marvel Team Up number 14. This is also a facsimile with Invincible and Spider-Man teaming up here. This was back in, I think, 2006. The original came out. Robert Kirkman was the writer and Cory Walker was the artist on here. I've talked about this a bit. I've already covered it on my channel, but I got this again because this is the Todd McFarlane variant cover, and he's drawing Spider-Man again. So great to see Todd doing Spider-Man. He says, "Hi, Todd." Just like the last time Todd drew Spider-Man, Spider-Man said, "Bye, Todd." So very clever there. And then Invincible, of course, kind of cropped out of the picture saying, "Hey, leave room for me." So great to see Todd McFarlane drawing Spider-Man again, even though it's just an image book. I got Absolute Superman number 18 here. This is a new story arc, starts here. I've been hot and cold on Absolute Superman. I was talking about this book a bit at the comic shop with my guy there, the clerk at the counter. And we both thought, you know, the stuff with Ra's al Ghul is cool. I think making him the Superman villain, that was sort of, you know, subversive, I guess. Didn't expect that. But not a lot's happened. If something really needs to happen here, I think that's what we both kind of came away with. And we both started talking about DCKO as well recently, the ending of that, and how, you know, the final words of Darkseid on the final page were basically, now there's going to be an absolute crisis. So we were just like we both felt like just like roll our eyes, because it's like, man, one DC, event leads into another. It's like Dark Crisis, that leads into, something else, which leads into Absolute Power, which leads into All In and the Absolute Universe, which leads into DCKO, which is leading into DC Next Level, which is leading into Absolute Crisis. So it's just like one thing after another with DC, just one thing leading into another, which I guess that's the nature of comic books. But so in this issue, we've got, it says King Shazam has risen. So Black Adam taking over the powers of Shazam here, it kind of looks like, or who knows what's happening here. It looks like Deathstroke maybe showing up. Oh, that's just an ad, excuse me. Steel. Oh, we got Steel showing up. This version of Steel doesn't look anything like Steel, the old school Steel. But anyway, Absolute Superman 18 here. Like I said, I've been hot and cold on Absolute Superman, but I've bought every issue. For the most part, I like it a lot. I really loved the artwork from Juan Ferreira in the previous arc, but I do like Rafa Sandoval too. We got the N2099 number 3. Now issue 4 has already come out, and I missed issue 3 because I didn't realize that this book was coming out twice a month. So I went back and they had a couple on the shelf this week, which they didn't have the past few weeks for whatever reason. Maybe somebody had this on their pull and didn't pick it up, so they put it back on the shelf or something. Thankfully, I was able to pick this up. Bizarre version of Cyclops there. I kind of like it. This is pretty cool. It's like Secret Wars with 2099 and the rest of the Marvel Universe. Really, it's kind of 2099 versus the rest of the Marvel Universe. Steve Orlando's the writer here, and Ibram Robertson's doing the artwork. Really like the artwork in this series. I like the characters they're using here. I'm not all caught up on 2099 totally, but like there's some things going on in here I'm confused by. Like for instance, Logan is the last Nova. I'm not sure exactly how that happened. But the other cool thing about this, we got Spider-Man 3099 made their first appearance in this book. I don't know much about the character other than what he kind of looks like, and he's doing Spider-Man things. So, but if you like 2099 or Secret Wars or just action comics, I think this is one you should be interested in picking up. Steve Orlando, I think, does a good job when he's got a cast of 20 or 30 characters to work with. It seems like his bag. So, and Secret Defenders of 2099 here on the last page. Secret Defenders was always just kind of a random mashup of Marvel heroes. So once this series concludes, I will go back and finish reviewing this, I think, because I've already done a review of issue 1 and 2. Go check those out on my channel. If you made it this far, we're on to all of the dollar bin books I picked up. So you are the true believers. If you're still sticking around at this point, please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. So these are all just dollar books I picked up, mostly X-Men. Actually, I think it's all X-Men. I love finding X-Men books in the dollar bin. So this one is the 95 annual. 95 was a pretty awesome year for X-Men. Generation X debuted. We had the Age of Apocalypse. I don't think I ever picked up this annual though. So, and I love this X-Men or this X-Force team as well during this time period. Cannonball, one of my favorite characters in all of X-Men here. He's, I think he's about to join the X-Men at this point. See who the team is. We got Brian Hitch doing the artwork here. What happened to Brian Hitch? He hasn't been doing any work recently that I'm aware of. Let me know if you know. What the hell happened to Brian Hitch? Terry Cavanaugh doing the writing on this annual. So looks like kind of a mashup, not just the X-Men, but of all the X-Men teams. X-Force and Generation X in the X-Men. So this looks good. I'm gonna definitely have to sit down and read this. I don't know who these guys are that they're battling. But they hate mutants. You can be sure of that. So this has got to be super early Brian Hitch. Because the first time I really remember hearing about him was right after the Age of Apocalypse. He did that X-Men Prime issue. And that was really the first time I ever heard of Brian Hitch. Pretty cool double splash there. Yeah, so X-Men 95 annual there. We got X-Force, like I was talking about. I like this version of the X-Force team during this time period. This is 96. So this is right before Heroes Reborn. We've got Franklin Richards on the cover here, who will probably, thanks to the Avengers Doomsday movie, I would imagine become a bigger part of the Marvel Universe. He was a pretty big part of the Marvel Universe here in 96. An integral part of Heroes Reborn. Let's see who this team is. Loeb, Castrillo, La Rosa. I don't know who Castrillo is. Looks like maybe a fill-in artist on this. But yeah, Alfred Polina does the cover though. He was doing great stuff on X-Force at this time. This looks just kind of, like I said, a fill-in issue. I guess maybe trying to tie in X-Force into Heroes Reborn somehow, sort of. Looks like Nightcrawler is making an appearance. There's Onslaught. It's a funny drawing. So yeah, this was just an issue of X-Force I did not have. And like I said, looks just kind of like a filler issue maybe. September 96, this came out. I got X-Men Flashback, #1. I think I might have picked this up when I was a kid. I had some of these Flashback comics. I can't remember if these are reprints or retellings. Yeah, it looks like they're retellings of some old stories here. Stan Lee making a cameo. Is this Bastion? He's got Professor X. So somehow this ties into the X-Men books, it looks like, in a clever way. This artwork looks pretty awesome. I really like it. Great legs there. Some really expressive looking faces here. Who is this? Who's doing this artwork? It looks really familiar. Carlos Pacheco. Pacheco, yeah. Art Tybert doing the inks here as well. Scott Lobdell writing this one. Great looking Magneto. So this, like I said, is it's a flashback. So like the title is saying, so we're getting some older stories told in a newer style with the current writers of the day. This is probably around 96 as well, I would imagine. 97. So yeah, we just keep going 1 year more into the future. Here we go, way further into the future. Uncanny X-Men #14, Legacy number 714. This is Gail Simone's book. She's the writer. David Marquez is the artist. I picked up all the first 8 or 9, 10 issues of this or so. I thought it was pretty good. I do like these outliers, these new X-Men that Gail Simone's been writing. She seems to be focusing on them pretty heavily throughout all this, which may or may not be to your taste. You may prefer if we were focusing on Gambit and Rogue a little bit more, although they're also pretty heavily focused on, but just more maybe focusing on more X-Men than the new ones. Although I would make the argument that X-Men always needs to be introducing new characters. So I think if there's one thing that this fall, what was this called? Fall of the Ashes or whatever it was called, this era of the X-Men was creating all the new characters pretty much in almost every single book, I think is a good thing. So lots of female villains I've noticed in Uncanny X-Men. I think Gale likes to write lots of female villains, conflicted, troubled villains versus the teenagers who are all horny and in love with each other. So anyway, Uncanny X-Men number 14. Found this in the dollar bin. Pretty recent issue of Uncanny X-Men, so picked that one up. Then I picked up a very old issue of Uncanny X-Men. That was legacy number 714. This is legacy number 259. We got Mark Silvestri doing this stuff. This is pretty well into his run on X-Men, I believe. But Mark Silvestri walked so Jim Lee could run, I always felt like, on X-Men. The Mark Silvestri X-Men is some of the best stuff you're going to find, though. Don't think I have this issue. I need to go back through my collection and make sure, but I saw it in the dollar bin. So I was like, one way or another, either way, I'm going to pick this up. So it's dinged up a little bit. It's got a little bit of a corner. Corner's a little bit coming off there, but yeah, Mark Silvestri, one of the best X-Men artists, just one of the best comic book artists ever. This is a great period of their team, of this X-Men team. Well, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, please subscribe if you haven't yet. Got Dazzler performing here at the end. Corners are a little worn on this for sure. Staples coming out a little bit, but that's all right. Uncanny X-Men 259. Found it in the dollar bin. That's probably about how much it's worth. So anyway, that's all I got. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Go read comics.
Thank you very much.